Hello Karma Crew and welcome back to the channel. Today I have a ProRevenge story for you that is only going out to members and not going out to the public at all. We're now up to 16 members on the Karma Crew and I thank each and every one of you for your continued support. You guys are awesome and you make it possible for me to continue doing what I love. Alright, let's get into the story. It comes to us from T. Multisanti and is titled, Fire Me Unjustly so you can replace me with an unpaid intern. I'll expose you and your family for fraud. Not a lot of willing to work people in the area this takes place, so I was approached often to come and work for many local businesses. I was asked by my former employer, the owner, to leave the business I was working for at the time for a more clinical role with her. There was one caveat: if I left to work for her, I would only be making minimum wage. Having clinical and patient experience and education under my belt, far more than the other older ladies who were employed before and after me, I was still making less than them because I was the youngest. I found this out much later when the HR rep used my computer and forgot to disable access to everyone's hourly wages and resumes. I'd come to find out that many of these older women hadn't worked in over 20 years, didn't even know how to navigate a computer properly, yet I was the lowest paid employee based on my age. Before knowing all about the other employees' lack of experience, knowledge, and their wages, I accepted to put clinical experience on my resume as I worked towards finishing school for a similar career path. I was told from the beginning that in a matter of months, she would pay me more than any other business in the area. That never happened. I handled appointments and procedures by myself, came in on weekends or when someone else called in. She praised me often, reassuring me if I just held on a little longer, a raise could be discussed the following month. Eventually, I had to cut my hours to qualify for Medicaid. This job had no benefits, zilch, nada. I had gone from full-time, which was about 33 hours a week, to 27 hours. Not at all a big adjustment, wasn't a 40 hours a week kind of establishment. I was then able to qualify for Medicaid. I was still there every day the business was open, per the owner's request. The owner confessed to me that she too was on Medicaid, along with her bratty kids and husband. Excuse me? What the heck is a woman who makes 6 figures a year, a license to practice, and her own paid-off clinic doing on Medicaid? Her husband was employed too, just no insurance benefits. He made money, at least 30 grand on top of her 6 figures. She said, who would know, they'd been on Medicaid for years, pre-approved. She wasn't an idiot, and she knew it was committing fraud. I urged her to get herself and family on private health insurance. It was criminal to continue. And still, I didn't threaten her. This was just a reminder on my part. Another employee who was full-time had to cut her hours for a part-time job several hours away that paid more. Realizing she couldn't skate by with paying her employees cheap wages, owner called a meeting to explain why she was paying everyone BS wages. Money was tight, blah blah. She took this time to scold me and the other employee in front of the other few staff members for bringing up the idea of a raise during our evaluations every month. Contradicting her hurting for money facade, this woman buys a $600,000 home with a view, then asks me to move in with her to help her pay her mortgage. This happened on 3 occasions. I was very polite, but of course refused. Had I accepted, I would be living in a studio apartment above her garage, laugh out loud. She wanted me to pay the same amount of rent for a 2-bedroom home I was renting at the time. I'd have to pay for a storage unit for all mine and my partner's things that wouldn't fit in her stupid studio. The comfortable 4-bedroom place she had just moved out of was paid off and newly renovated, so the B had money. As a result of refusing the offer to rent from her, I was immediately retaliated against. During this time, she started by telling me not to come in on top of my already abbreviated schedule. At first, it was days in advance, then only minutes before a shift, telling me not to come in. I was averaging like 12 hours a week my last few weeks. This happened quickly. She was sloppy, all her personal reminders on our staff-wide system. I saw a remind for her to cut my hours, and only mine. and another reminder to get in touch with unpaid interns to make up the hours I'd have been working. So the next time they called me in only 6 minutes before my shift, I called them out on everything I knew, and the HR lady's sloppiness, allowing me to be less qualified, less experienced employee wages. Owner and HR rep had no idea what to say and fired me. Shortly after, they tried to fight my unemployment request where I came with evidence. I also knew the HR rep was handling the unemployment argument against me, not the owner. So I also detailed in my rebuttal that everyone at the clinic had heard awful gossip about HR rep from the owner herself, which was true. And I wanted the HR rep, who so dutifully assisted in firing me, to know that all she was the owner's flying monkey clown. The owner was constantly manipulative, condescending, and privileged, jealous of other women, always making snide remarks, even patronizing towards her husband in a room full of people. So embarrassing. I was able to get unemployment because obviously they had nothing against me. I reported her for Medicaid benefit fraud shortly after. She was riding that train for over 2 years and had a lot of bills to pay back. She needed to pay for my unemployment, and she'd be forced to get her own private insurance plan for herself, husband, and her dumb kids, all while struggling to make payments on that fancy new house she screwed all her employees over for. The last update I got from the fraud report was that she had some making up to do and possible legal charges, but I think a lot of times charges are dropped if penalties are paid. The government is also monitoring her business and the charity she was running. I don't know if she knows I'm the one who reported her scheme, probably, but I don't care. She still has some spineless bootlickers working for her, happy to be making minimum wage or barely more than, and they know she's fueled only by greed. She's a clout-chasing crook who took advantage of my young age and my patience, thinking I was naive, which I am not. She's gone through life by manipulating and bullying everyone she has a relationship with. She's been privileged to never have to work her way up the ladder. I feel a tiny bit of sympathy for her other employees being taken for a ride, even if they are brown-nosing idiots. There isn't a lot of opportunity for work out here, and they have no other career paths. I pity her doormat of a husband and her kids who will have no choice but to live by her example. But also, that's not my effing problem. She'll probably always be a thoughtless pig of a person. Even with the revenge I got on her, her biggest karma is that she will never experience true humility. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called JustAman097. It says, "Well played. It's nice when people who defraud the government are caught. Hopefully she will face penalties." OP responded and said, "Based on what I reported her for, I think she won't face any felony charges. I think she can just pay the Medicaid cost and penalty fees since this is likely her first offense. I know it's cost her at least $20,000, but her businesses are being monitored, so if she F's up the books for that, she'll be in more trouble." Another commenter down below called TechNot said, "Report her to the IRS. They have a bounty system." OP responded and said, "I was afraid if I did too much, then I might face karma of my own. I was told I could also report her for replacing a paid employee with unpaid interns, but I felt like what I did was enough. I effed with her finances and her family's healthcare coverage. But yeah, I can definitely do more." This is one of those rare cases where I feel like OP's done enough at this point and can sit back and relax and know that they've really screwed this person over. They messed with their healthcare and they messed with their finances. Their healthcare they're now paying for, and they're paying back all of the coverage they had before. I think the only negative thing I can say about this one is that OP let themselves be taken advantage of for far too long before they actually did something about it. Anyway, Karma Crew, let me know, have you had any bosses like the one in this story? Ones that took advantage of the workers completely and didn't feel bad about it at all? Let me know in the comments down below. Every comment you leave on one of the Karma Crew posts lets other people know that the Karma Crew is active and it's the place to be. And I appreciate again every one of you for being here.